When you're early in the process, everything feels fuzzy, but sometimes the most important part of the deal isn't the numbers. It's the people you talk to while holding a beer or waiting for a sandwich. In today's local real estate developer mini episode, we're back with Craig Parsons, who's deep in the weeds of a small town Idaho deal and just starting to test out how he'll finance it. If you've ever wondered how deals actually get funded when you don't have millions in the bank, this one's for you.
Right.
What about equity partners? I think you had mentioned something about potentially someone heard about what you're doing and might be an investor or...
Yeah, I'm working on that. Like the guy that I talked to basically knows a bunch of people. He said, "I'm gonna send you one guy. If that doesn't work, I'll send you another guy." So that's an ongoing thing. I honestly think if the bank I talked to, they're like, "Well, if you can get the owner to take second note on the property, which is obviously a big if, they could finance the whole thing." That might be the simplest route. I mean, it's only about $450,000 for the infrastructure. I mean, I say only, but in the scheme of money, that's not that big of a chunk.
Yep.
So if not, I could try to raise or find some other partners, something like that too. But
so for the person who had a guy, where did he come from?
I was at a monthly, I call it my drinking party with some other guys, and I was telling one of my other friends about the project, and he overheard me. And he's like, "Oh, I'll call you tomorrow." And he called me the next day and then, asked a little bit more about it. He says, "Well, I'll see what I can do." And then he called me yesterday and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you so-and-so's name and number. He's going to call you." I don't know. If I don't hear from him in a couple of days, I'll reach back out. I don't want to get too pushy yet.
Just sharing what you're doing, what you're, interested in. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about this a lot. People go, "Where am I going to get the money for my deal?" And it's like, if you have a deal, the money will come. You just have to tell people what you're doing,
Right.
what area you're in, and it will fall in your lap. This is what we mean when we say, talk about what you're doing. Craig didn't send out pitch decks. He didn't go to a conference. He casually mentioned a deal at a guys' night out. Someone overheard him and then followed up the next day. Deals get funded when you have a real opportunity and you've built real trust. It's not a pitch, it's a conversation.
So can we talk about what is a deal? So if I'm going to put in $500,000 for the property, $500,000 for infrastructure, figuring after that I get the houses financed 100% or whatever, what kind of return should we be looking for?
That's where it's completely negotiable between your equity partners and what they're willing to do. You're going to come up with a plan for how long is their money going to be out of pocket. And based on the risk profile, how risky is this? How long is their money going to be out of pocket? And then it's you guys coming to terms with, here's returns that we're comfortable with. Are you bringing them in as equity partners or are you bringing them in as private money lenders? Because that's a difference in that too. Do they just want to be a lender or do they want in the upside?
Right. No, man, I talked to some people that want an upside, like, "Oh, I don't want to be a lender. I want to be a partner," which is fine. How that works out, I mean, there's a zillion ways.
But with development, the sweat equity is worth a lot more because of who's going to be managing the project. So if the person bringing in money is just bringing the money and you're going to be managing the entire process, then your equity is different than theirs. So it comes down to the roles. Are you splitting it with your equity partner or are they bringing the capital and you're managing the whole deal? From there, then you can figure out what split feels fair based on the roles and responsibilities and the cash we put in. The other thing to consider is who's personally guaranteeing the bank loan. That's liability and risk, and that's a swing in equity as well.
Now, obviously, I'd be making money in the back end, but if I got to run this thing for 2 years, should I be making money in the process, like a small stipend or something?
Whether you call it project management or construction management fee, but the way I look at it is if I don't need to make that working capital, I roll it in to get a larger chunk of equity. If it's, hey, let's have that working capital, then you're just going to have a smaller chunk of equity depending on how you structure that part of it. So if you're going to be paid, then you're taking risk off the table for your time while everyone else is waiting to get returned. So it's just how do you want to balance that?
Right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think if I want to be there full time or as much as full time allows while we're working on the project just to keep things on track.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't afford to take off here for 2 years and not,
Right.
get paid.
You've got two currencies in development, equity and cash flow. Are you paying yourself now or are you building long-term ownership? Are your partners lenders or true equity players? These are the kinds of trade-offs that shape the deal, and they don't have one right answer. It's all about roles, risks, and returns. And that's where the give and take comes from. Hey, we're going to do our first deal and it's not going to be the grand slam, but it's let's get this model working. Let's start to build things. Let's get the credibility in the town that I'm the go-to person and build the relationship. So every time you do the next deal, you've got even more solid relationships. Probably some of the people you use on the first deal, you're not going to use going forward. You're going to work out how partnerships work and feel, but then you'll be able to take more and more of a piece of the equity pie in the long run.
And that's another big thing for me is just if I can be in charge of building 19 units or whatever, you get these contractors, you'll get their attention for 19 houses versus a remodel, right? But then you'll find contractors that actually you can work with. So, I mean, even if I made zero money on the back end, it would still be worth it for me to find a better team.
Yep, exactly.
Of course, we want to make some money on the back end, but it's not the only goal, I guess is what I'm saying.
So based on all of that, what do you think the immediate next step?
So my goal when I go there next week is to meet with the seller, talk to a couple more underground contractors, the people who are going to build the roads and the infrastructure. They got one bid from a guy. I'm not sure who it came from. It's actually reasonably priced, I thought, but she also said that this was done figuring they're going to get government money to build these houses. So she's thinking it might be a little higher than necessary because they're going to be picking prevailing wages. So I just got to look into that and find out, what's what. Talk to the counties, make sure everything's copacetic with them, and that there's no hidden things. This is also in the middle of an Indian reservation, and this is different than normal Indian reservation. This is like the last Indian reservation ever designed. They don't have segregated land.
Okay.
But when it comes to the fish and spotted owls, they kind of get a little bit of say because obviously the land is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not.
Do you have any kind of is that their neighborhood association overlay to where you need to give them the plans and say, hey, here's what we're going to do? You need to give a conceptual sign off or?
Well, allegedly it's all been signed off, but I need to find out on that for sure and then talk to someone from the tribe to make sure. I mean, it's known as the tribe up there to make sure that they're not going to have any problems with it, especially environmentally. So I called a modular home builder and he says, oh yeah, we were looking at this 2 or 3 years ago, but then they had a problem with the Indian tribe. They needed a salmon study. So according to the realtor, the salmon study has been done. They have it. They signed off on it. But again, you can trust them as far as you can anybody. You got to verify, trust but verify, right?
Okay, so it looks like some tribe coordination to make sure they're good, some city coordination to make sure they're good, meeting with the seller to just build that relationship, make sure that conceptually she's on board with doing seller financing, knowing that the terms are still being worked out because you're still vetting the deal. And then is it contractor meetings? Would you go back to modular? What would you do from that point to dial in dollars?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out the most cost-effective way to build these things to keep the price down because I would like to make it a entry-level housing for people because I think you'd be a hero to the community if you can make houses they can actually afford. I mean, the problem is the median income is $57,000 for a household. Mm-hmm. So that means you can afford like a $200,000 house, which is going to be impossible to build with $50,000 for the lot and infrastructure costs, or near impossible. So I don't know if we're going to get there. Then that means I got to talk to the other business. Are you really hiring these people? They also said that there's some biodiversity money. They're trying to figure out different things to do with sawdust. They need science housing for scientists, which is probably going to be a little bit more money. They'd be able to afford a little bit more. Yeah. But again, ideally, we can afford the common person in town.
Right. This is what it really looks like to develop something from scratch. Craig's not just walking the site. He's meeting with the seller, he's checking permits, verifying environmental studies, and making sure the tribe is on board. He's not skipping steps. He's asking, can I build this and should I? It's not just due diligence, it's responsible development.
And then someone also mentioned that maybe I should go with the Chamber of Commerce and start financial literacy for some people, to help people in 2 years be able to afford these houses. I mean, just a little charity work to help. Yeah. We work with Habitat for Humanity and on some stuff, and they have financial literacy programs. So that's a huge one. I mean, it's lacking everywhere. Would your concept of the smaller homes, like building a 2-1 starter home that has the ability to expand, could that get you down to a starter home concept to where it could be a first-time home buyer? I think so. I mean, it's, the thing is as the house shrinks, the cost per square foot is going to go up a little bit. But if you're at $150 square foot and you build a 1,000 square foot house, that's only $150,000. So, and then 50,000 for the lot. So we're right around 2. I don't want to say if interest rates drop, but obviously if interest rates dropped a little bit, people can afford a little bit more. What about, was modular competitive in pricing? Not really. Yeah. if I built these things, I'd most likely be general on
Mm-hmm.
myself to save a little bit there. And I'm making some assumptions here that if it's 19 units, knowing that they have assured work for a while, they might be willing to get a little better pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to talk to these people and kind of explain to them the vision and hopefully
Oh
get them
yeah.
on board.
Yeah, as the developer, you're putting the story together, sharing the vision, and you are selling people the vision to come along for the ride and be part of something cool. Get all those community stakeholders together and get people to buy in and go, yeah, this is great. Okay, so clearly, like, this is the phase when you're figuring it out that a lot of stuff is out there, a lot of balls are up in the air, so it gets overwhelming. Where are you at from that standpoint?
No, well, for me, it's not overwhelming. I mean, why let no one how to do something get in your way? You know, I don't. It's not. I just want to make sure it's a deal before I really start soliciting money and stuff like
Yeah.
that, or even yanking the broker's chain. And I told her, I mean, I got to do a lot of due diligence. She said, "Yeah, that's fine. Just don't take too long." And I don't think she meant anything by that, than the fact that she's been getting, the runaround from these other guys. I'll know more when I go up there next week.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I can find out. I mean, my first question to this lady, she's like, "Well, I've done developments before too." I'm like, "We're like, well, why aren't you doing it, anymore?" Fair question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she's just tired too, and she just has too much to do. That's a fair answer. But anyway, we got to at least ask it.
Yes. Yep.
After that, I mean, I already got an architect lined up to draw plans. We have to decide exactly what we want to build again. If it's a smaller home, people have to live in the. I mean, I have an aunt and uncle, 3 boys, 2-bedroom house for their whole life. So it can be done. We're all spoiled living in bigger houses, but I mean, if people truly need to want to buy a house, then you might have to sacrifice a little bit. Whether we convince them that or not, when everybody thinks that.
It's totally doable. I also like the idea with Facebook, if you can get someone local to kind of have some questions that'll generate some feedback that will give you insights to what is the true pulse of the community. I love talking to the local businesses direct. It sounds like you're going to have a really productive week next week, getting tons of information and fact finding. And you should totally get some videos of the sites, of the people. Get some selfies and photos and video with the different city people and just say, this is a community project. Like, let's bring this to life. Let's tell a story to bring people along, because when development is happening with them, not to them, they're much more inclined to be part of it.
Very good point. To them, yeah, very good point. So cool. What else should I be doing that I'm not talking about?
When you're walking the property, just see who are the neighbors that would be impacted by the construction and things happening. It might be worth having some conversations as you're going around. I'd play it by ear to say, do I want to say anything about redeveloping this, or do you just want to pick their brains and just talk to them about this neighborhood, the community, but just start to build that relationship and rapport?
I think there's going to be some NIMBYism because it's been vacant for 50 years. So people moved in, they had nothing behind them forever. I'm sure they're loving life. I'm sure they're using that land as it's their own. It's a dead end street, so but it's right, as you saw, it's right on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been on that road because I've just never had a reason to go over there.
And I would pay attention to how they're using the land, because you can be creative in how you develop in ways that don't cost money, but maybe you can give a feature that makes sense for them. So if I were the local here, how are they using it? What's happening? How does it feel in this neighborhood? What's around? Just get to know the people, and then that will give you some insights and more questions and things that you can ask and learn from in the future. But always walking the property and the perimeter and the surrounding stuff tells you so much that you can't see on Google. And you can do it, you can go street view, and there's so much more you learn just being there. And then too, check the grades. Just make sure there isn't some crazy slope or some whatever. Hopefully it may be raining and see if there's any issue, but just keep your eyes for all utilities, all existing conditions. If there's massive trees, but just lots of pictures, and just be very observant.
Okay, good. Well, we'll see. I want to do it, but I don't want to do it just so I want to do it.
Yes.
I want it to work. Obviously, there's challenges. And again, I mean, if the realtors can give me evidence that we can sell $350,000 houses, well, we'll make $350,000 houses. I mean, I don't know. Do a little bit of both.
It's just like when you have new tech and the new e-vehicles come out, people overspend for those because it's status or they're willing to, but then that allows us to do more affordable things in other areas as technology and things improve, or as, hey, cool, they took the bulk of the horizontal costs by buying these nicer, bigger ones, so now everyone else can be a more affordable living.
Right. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, we can, after I discuss it, we can discuss other options as far as what we build, or if the lots need to be changed or whatever. But until I actually get there on the ground, I don't know if it's all supposition until then. So
Love it.
I
This
will
is
keep you
this is
informed.
the part that's most exciting and gray hairs and wrinkles because you're like, wait, what is the deal? What is happening? But yeah, just the figuring it out though is what makes you a developer of going, what is the highest and best use? What does this community actually need? How do I put this together? The reason no one else has done it is because it's not easy. You just have to do things in the right order.
Right.
And you are clearly a man who wants to figure stuff out and will not let not knowing how to do it do it.
Right on. Cool. All right. Well, thank you.
This is the other thing. You're going to learn so much from this one that maybe this isn't the deal, but then the next one that comes up in town, you've got a whole arsenal that helps you to go through that due diligence that much faster. Craig said something that stuck with me. I don't want to just do this. I want it to work. That's it right there. Because development isn't about ego. It's about vision, resilience, and staying curious long enough to figure out if you actually have a deal. He's on the ground, he's meeting with contractors, he's checking his assumptions, he's weighing the trade-offs. That's how you do it. One question, one relationship, one somewhat messy step at a time. If you love this minisode and want more boots on the ground stories from real people building in their own backyard, subscribe to the Local Real Estate Developer Podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Until next time, I'm Christy, and I believe locals should be the ones shaping their communities.